Swing dancing and jazz music have always coexisted. Today they can be unrecognizably different, but it's important for dancers and musicians to know the similarities between them. Swing jazz didn't start until the 1920s, peaked around the 40s, declined in the 50s, and didn't make a comeback until the 1990s. Most people say the swing era began when Louis Armstrong joined the Fletcher Henderson Band in 1925. Before this, jazz musicians just kind of improvised freely without any real form or purpose. Louis Armstrong started to give jazz musicians something to work towards, and improvisation became more of a solo thing. Jazz music in general just began to have more structure. Some of the other greatest jazz musicians during the swing era were Count Basie, Chick Webb, and Artie Shaw. Before swing dancers took control of the music, steamboats along the Mississippi helped spread the sound of jazz for entertainment on the boats. In the 1920s, the first big bands started and combined elements of ragtime, black spirituals, blues, and European music. The Savory Ballroom in Harlem opened its doors in 1926. It was a place to be in the hotbeds for big bands. It was also where the Lindy Hop was born. July 4th, 1928, on the 18th day of a non-stop dance marathon, 4 couples were left using a combination of 1920s Charleston, throwouts, and fancy footwork. One of these dancers was the famous Shorty George Snowden. Charles A. Lindbergh had recently hopped the Atlantic on May 21, 1927. There was a news article that day that read, "Lindy hopped the Atlantic." When a reporter asked George what type of dance they were doing, he saw the article and just sort of said, "The Lindy Hop." The name just sort of stuck. His most famous partner was Big B, and that was ironic because she was about a foot taller than him. It never failed in his extremely strong lead. He also invented a move that emphasized his shortness and closeness to the ground. In the 1930s, a bouncy 6-beat variant was named the Jitterbug, and in 1934, a band leader, Cab Calloway, introduced a tune entitled Jitterbug, further showing how dancing and music were evolving from each other. Jitterbug was also referred to as a wild dance. These Lindy Hoppers and swing dancers became one of the main revenues for many jazz musicians. By 1936, Lindy and swing had swept across the United States, creating many different forms with subtle differences in technique. Frankie Manning was one of the greatest innovators of Lindy Hop. He created the first air steps in the year 1935 at a weekly competition at the Savory. He was greatly inspired by Shorty George's move, where he would get on the girl's back and lift his feet in the air and the girl would walk around. He gave such a physical sense of expression, and it helped to create many of the big band sounds we hear today. He was also part of Herbert White's dance group, Whitey Lindy Hoppers. They were in many old dancing films such as A Day of the Races. Frankie Manning was one of their top choreographers. Not every band leader appreciated dancers, and one in particular hated them so much he purposely would play off beat and try and make it impossible for the dancers to stay on track. His name was Artie Shaw. Unfortunately for him, this only encouraged dancers to explore new possibilities. Artie Shaw thought of jazz as worthy as classical music. The reason he hated dancers was because he claimed dancers would dance to anything as simple as windshield wipers, if it was all they had. Because of his complexity in the music, many of the hardcore dancers became some of his most beloved fans. Drum hits would come on even beats, dynamics changed drastically, etc. During World War II, the swing era began to die off. Many factors contributed to this. The war drafted many band members, forcing the band leaders to hire unskilled performers. The musician union went on strike August 1st, 1942, and the 2 main swing record labels did not settle on any agreement for over 2 years, and the music kind of disappeared. Swing music reminded people of the war and depression, and to avoid the memories, the music was ignored as well.